These are the 5 mistakes I see first-time home buyers make the most. Buying your first home is a huge decision that's very hard to reverse. So it's important to make the right choice the first time. And most people think these mistakes are all obvious, but they're not. Actually, they're disguised as good decisions. So what happens is you sign, you get the keys, you move in, and you think you nailed it. A year later, you're unhappy, you're house poor, and you're eating cup of noodles in a home you supposedly could afford. And your realtor isn't gonna stop you, right? Because their job is to get you in the house so they can get the commission. And I know these are common mistakes because I'm a mortgage expert who's helped over 500 families buy homes while also avoiding them. So stay with me, and I'm gonna walk you through all 5, starting with mistake number 1. Using the listing agent to save on commission. Now it's counterintuitive, right? Because you think you'd be saving money. So what happens is you find the house you love online and you call the number like on the sign, or you click the button on the listing, right? And then you end up working with the seller's agent, AKA the listing agent. So on the surface, again, this feels like a smart decision. You think, why complicate things by bringing in your own agent? I'll just work with the person who already knows the house. Maybe I'll save a little on commission. Notice the little part. So here's the problem. The agent does not work for you. They work for the sellers. Now on paper, when an agent represents both sides, they're supposed to be fair to both of you. It's called dual agency. You know that Spider-Man meme, when they're pointing at each other, like who's the real Spider-Man? But this time it's who's really, on your side. You don't know. So again, on paper, the listing agent is also supposed to be on your side, but let me tell you what actually happens in practice. I've helped a lot of buyers as well get mortgages while they've used the listing agent to buy a house, again, to quote, get a good deal. And I'm telling you, almost every single time, it is a turbulent, hectic process. If there's delays, they're gonna side with the sellers. If there's any repairs, they're gonna side with the sellers. If there's anything that goes wrong from start to the escrow, they're gonna side with the sellers. So this reminds me of a client who ended up, going directly to the listing agent. It was a first-time home buyer too, because they thought they could get a better deal. And I would say they got a good deal. However, he absolutely could have gotten an even better deal. It was actually a property that was being sold with a lot right next to it. So again, really cool property. And his family was gonna build up another structure, move in there. So you're kind of getting like 2 houses in one, aside from having to build it. But the house was beat up for sure, the main house that was there. Needed a new roof. There were holes in the ceiling that needed to get resolved, and the carpet was absolutely destroyed, kitchen as well, right? So if there was a buyer's agent involved or an agent representing the buyer, not a dual agency, he easily could have got another $10,000 to $15,000 in seller credits or coupons for his closing costs. And guess how much he ended up getting? $0. The listing agent said, well, the sellers aren't gonna budge, so it is what it is. But I know for a fact in similar situations like that, there's always room to budge. Now, I want you to think about it logically. Let's flip the script right here. Let's say you step into the listing agent's shoes. The seller might have other properties that they might have to sell. Maybe they're an investor that wants to sell multiple homes, or maybe they're selling this home and buying another home, so they're going to get double commission because they have to sell and move. And that's basically more deals for the agent down the road. And then, whereas in your situation, the buyer, maybe that's just one deal, right? The agent has a choice. Which relationship do they want to protect? You, where they get one deal, or the seller, where they might get 3 or more. So it's like a lawyer also representing both sides. They're gonna help the side that makes them the most money, right? So I've got this saying for this. If you want it done right, sometimes you have to pay a little extra, because if you don't, you end up paying twice. So here's the fix. Get your own agent, a buyer's agent. And I'm not even a real estate agent, by the way, but I know a great agent is worth their weight in gold. And in most markets, it is customary for the sellers to pay for a portion, or if not all, for the buyer's agent commission. Now, with the big lawsuit that happened in 2024, the real estate agent commissions being negotiable. But generally speaking, most transactions that I've seen, I would say that the sellers will be paying for most, if not all, of the buyer's agent's commissions. But here's also the problem. How do you know if the buyer's agent is actually good? Because there's so many horror stories out there, right? Their real estate agent ripping them off, or didn't know what they're doing, all that stuff. That's actually a little spoiler on what I'm gonna cover in mistake number 2, so make sure to stay tuned for that. All right, and real quick, before we get into mistake number 2, because every one of these mistakes really comes down to one question. Are you set up to actually enjoy this home, or are you about to trap yourself in it? That's actually why I built the free homebuyer readiness quiz. It takes less than 30 seconds. There's no credit pull at all. and it tells you which of these mistakes you most likely will walk into before you ever make an offer. And if something's off, I'll actually send you a video to fix that one specific thing. And it's completely free. My gift to you, it's in the link down below. Now, getting rid of the wrong agent is only half of the equation. The other half is knowing how to spot the right one. So that leads me to number 2, which is choosing the wrong who. And here's why this one sneaks up on you. Because picking your agent or lender, again, your team, feels like a small, easy decision. You go with, your cousin who just got licensed, or whatever your friends use, or, the big name bank because you have some money with them, right? The big feels safe. It feels like they're loyal. And I'll tell you what, the bank doesn't care about you. You're literally just a number. But again, the whole decision comes into, it feels more convenient, even though it's a huge deal, right? And let me tell you how much the who actually matters. And you know the saying, you're only as strong as the weakest link. And when you're buying the biggest purchase of your life, you do not want to have a weak link, whether that's your realtor or lender, right? So think about it logically. Let's say you have a great realtor, and then deep down you're like, well, I feel like my lender could just do a little bit more. They're hard to get a hold of. I feel like they're not actually giving advice. They're just, giving me the cookie cutter, drive-through mortgage, feeling. It should not be like that. And I'm going to give you a scoring system so that way you can find a great realtor and a great lender too. And I also want you to think about your own life just for a second. Promise it'll make sense. Think about that one person, maybe, how you got your first job, or you got that interview that landed that job that, changed your entire career, or that one friend who introduced you to your partner. And if you didn't meet that friend at that one time and you decided to stay home, you never would have met your spouse, right? The right person doesn't just help you. They actually take you to a completely different stratosphere, right? The wrong person also does the opposite. So the saying, silent but deadly? Yeah, it's like one of those things. So a slow lender who misses a deadline can cost you the house. Silent but deadly, right? So a bad realtor may only care about themselves or the commission at the end of the transaction, but they might not care about the long-term relationship. Like a year after, you buy, and then what they didn't disclose was the old cast iron pipes that were at the end of their life. So now you're footing the bill to repair the whole thing. Or of course, you shouldn't buy in that neighborhood because everyone knows renting out in that subdivision is 20 times harder than being 6 blocks, up the street. And I know this because I have the scars from early on. Silent but deadly. Let me tell you, those scars really hurt when it comes from the money from your own bank account. So comment below if you bought a home before and had a bad realtor or lender experience. Help someone avoid those red flags too. All right, so how do you pick the right who? So I grade every agent and every lender on what I call the report card. It's 4 things. You grade them 1 through 10, 1 being the worst, obviously, 10 being the best. So here's what it looks like for lenders. So number 1 is who has the lowest monthly payment and total cash out of pocket, assuming they're being conservative with their closing costs. Number 2 is how clear is their plan to get me from pre-approval to keys. I use the clearness of the plan to be a proxy of how developed is their process and how legit they are, right? Because if they're just doing it live, you don't want someone doing it live dealing with your biggest debt of your life, right? Number 3 is did they give me actual ideas to improve my offer or save money? So I actually learned this from, hiring other people for the business, owning a business, is what I look for, especially high level you go, is I should be learning something from this person at every interview, right? Same with you. Like you should not know more than the mortgage advisor, right? So they should be able to tell you things that you didn't think about, or they should be able to see past corners that you didn't even know existed. Number 4 is who will get me closer to my bigger financial goals? Because at the end of the day, we're looking for global benefit, right? Not just the local one, right? If you have this cool, awesome, mortgage, but then you get screwed over 5 years later, that doesn't do any good. That doesn't get you closer to your goals, right? So that's why I like using that as kind of like an anchor at the end. Next one is gonna be for realtors. It has some slight changes, so pay attention here. Number 1 is what's their track record of actually getting buyers a better deal? Number 2 is how clear is their plan to get me from offer to keys, not pre-approval, but offer to keys, right? Like I said, if their plan is clear, that probably means they probably know what they're doing, right? Number 3, did they give me actual ideas to improve my offer or save money? Like I mentioned, you should be learning from this, expert, right? Number 4, who will get me closer to my bigger financial goals? Because at the end of the day, your realtor and lender should have aligned incentives with your goals as well, right? So figuring that out and then choosing the person that you want to hire should be the person who's also going where you want to go. So that's how you establish the Avengers team, right? You want that same feeling, like when Captain America was, in the Avengers, he was like, Avengers, assemble. And then everyone shows up and you're all hyped up. You guys remember that scene, right? So you want that same feeling when you have the right team. I promise you, it'll click if you use the report card. But here's the other thing too. Even with the perfect team though, in your corner, there's one cost coming from you that nobody on the team can stop. And it only moves in one direction. And most first-time buyers never budget for it. So mistake number 3 is the Ratchet Effect. The reason why I call it that is why I grabbed this, bad boy here, is when I turn it one direction, notice this, it'll actually spin and turn the, thing that you're trying to, turn. But if I try to spin it the other way, you'll notice it doesn't actually move my finger here. But if I go the other way, twist my arm, right? If I'm holding on tight enough. So that's the Ratchet Effect. I'm gonna explain more and tie it back to home buying. So I want you to think of that almost like the cost of owning a home. It only goes one way, which is up. So the payment that you sign for on day 1 is gonna be the lowest payment you'll ever have. Now, technically the principal and interest, so like the 30-year fixed or 15-year fixed, that interest rate, the principal and interest payment will stay the same, but there's other things that don't get cheaper. So let me show you all 3 that only go up. Number 1 is property taxes. As your home goes up in value, the county, once they're cut on the new value, right? So the home getting worth more sounds great until you realize that your tax bill is also along for the ride. Now, first thing is, if you're a veteran watching this video, 1, thank you for your service. The other thing is in some states like Florida, Texas, and there's like 20 total, I believe. You don't have to pay property taxes if you have a VA disability rating of 100%. So that's, one, caveat. The other is in California, there's a thing called Proposition 13. So it actually limits how much your property taxes can go up each year. So to a degree, it's not as bad if you're in California, but it does get more expensive over time. And the saying, how there's, 2 guarantees in life, which is death and taxes. But this next one, in my opinion, should also be included in the 3 guarantees, which is HOA. So here's a fun rule. An HOA fee never goes down. And if you ever see one that did go down, I would be scared or questioning, why did this actually happen? Because that pool or that roof, the gate, it doesn't get cheaper to maintain, if that makes sense. Somebody's gonna pay for it later, and it's probably gonna be you, or probably gonna be somebody else who didn't watch this video. Basically, it's called a special assessment, and it could be thousands, all at once. And the last one, which is, this one is wrecking home buyers right now, is homeowners insurance. So homeowners insurance is climbing fast, and in some parts of the country, it's getting harder to insure homes at all, which is like for fire, floods, storms, etc. So people are budgeting for the mortgage and getting the real insurance quote like later in the process. So it's a little too late to back out. Now, I want you to see how this really, works out over time. So I called in some backup. The best expert I know that has a lot of life experience points, like literally, and knows things always get more expensive. So it's actually my wife's grandma. We call her Nana, and she's 102 years old.
Okay, my name is Caroline, but my family calls me Nana for short. And I was born April the 1st, 1924, and I am 102 years old.
Perfect. Do you remember anything that was like very cheap back then and now it's super expensive? Like maybe a hamburger was like 25 cents back in the 1900s and now it's a lot more expensive. Do you have an example?
Well, when we were kids, we used to eat a lot of crack seed. It's Chinese crack seed.
What is that? I gotta look that up. Oh, plums. Okay. How much is that now? Do you know? Like if you were to buy that today?
I haven't bought crack seed.
I love that. We'll have to look up the price of crack seed, what it is now. We'll let you know. I wanted to ask you one last question. Do you have any advice for maybe the younger generation for like home ownership or anyone who's like thinking about real estate? Because that's obviously what my channel is about, real estate and mortgages. Do you have any advice for the younger generation?
I don't know what to say, but I would say that if you have real estate, don't sell it. That's all I can say. Everything is just going up, up. I guess people do exchange. So I guess maybe there is such thing as an exchange. The part is that if you have to sell your real estate unless necessary, don't ever sell it, your real estate. That's just security. That's all I can say.
So you heard it straight from Nana here. So fun little fact, when she actually turned 100 in 2024, which is crazy, it's already been 2 years since 2024, we actually got her a card that said 100 years ago, back in 1924. The craziest thing that stood out to me was, I'm gonna pull it up here. Gas was like 25 cents. Like what? And then the other thing is, check out the monthly rent, $15, okay? You can't even order a drink on DoorDash and have it be under $15, right? A new house, check this out, this is crazy. $7,750 was the average house in 1924. Now that is what I call the ratchet effect, right? Over a lifetime, everything will always get more expensive. So Nana also, when she bought, she also knew that the houses would continue to go up in price as well. So she had to sustain the mortgage payment, the maintenance costs and stuff like that. So here's my fix for you is do not just budget for the payment that you have today. I want you to budget for the payment that you have 3 to 5 years from now. That way you have room for taxes, HOA, homeowners insurance. And again, you can have that quietly tick up over the years, assuming your income never goes up, by the way. You'll still have a high probability of making that mortgage payment because you've built in some buffer, right? Now, obviously, if you have a high probability of your income going up, then you can be a little more lenient with this rule. But at the end of the day, you understand the framework, right? So that's at least what I like to do in the mortgage advisory side is help kind of show like, hey, this is the ratchet effect. This is what I would recommend you budget for so that way you don't hate your life, right? And that leads me straight into mistake number 4, which is the most common one of all. All right, so real quick, we're already 3 mistakes into it. So I know that you're serious about getting prepared for home buying. It's actually why I built the free homebuyer readiness quiz. It actually helps you get ready for your biggest purchase of your life. So that way you're the most ready buyer who gets the best deals. And again, if there's something that you're not ready about in the specific section about home buying, I send you a quick video to resolve that. It takes less than 30 seconds to fill out. There's no credit pull at all. It's something that I wish I would have had when I bought my first house. So it's my free gift to you. Check it out in the link down below. All right, let's get to number 4. And like I said, it's the most common one I see, which is buying what you're pre-approved for. What? Isn't that a little confusing? Yes, it is counterintuitive, but stick with me here. So you go to the lender, they run your numbers, and then they tell you the good news. You're approved for $500,000. So what do? You go shopping for $500,000, and because that's the number, right? That's what you can afford. Wrong. That's the trap. What you're pre-approved for is what you can buy. It's not what you should buy. So those are 2 completely different numbers. It's like if you think about it this way, if you go to a buffet and they tell you, yep, you can eat as much as you want all day, every day, all for one low price. Sure, technically you can eat all you want, but like, do you really want to be eating all of that all day, every day for the next 30 years? Probably not, right? So because the issue is the bank doesn't know your life specifically, right? The bank approves a file. It doesn't approve your life, okay? So it looks at your income, credit, savings. I call it the lending trifecta. It runs the math on paper, but the spreadsheet has never met you. And I call that the life that doesn't live on paper, right? It doesn't know that you're about to have a baby. And trust me on this one. We just had a newborn, while I was recording this. He is 6 weeks old, by the way. So we're getting a little more sleep. But let me know if you know about this. But the witching hour, like around like 6 or 8 o'clock, he's just like crying like crazy, can't eat. Then he finally settles down. But anyways, so let me tell you something. That little guy is expensive. Diapers, the gadgets, the little whiz bangs and gizmos that you have to order that I didn't know existed. Now, let me tell you, the baby product market is crazy. They tell you need to buy everything, but you only need like 1% of the stuff. So I wish there was a video like this, but for baby stuff that I can watch because it would have saved me a ton of money too. Anyways, that's my next side quest. Maybe we'll conquer the baby market later. Okay, going back to it. Nobody puts a cost of like diapers, gadgets, taxes, insurance going up, and all this good stuff on your pre-approval. Like the gadgets that I've bought, right, almost cost more than a house back in 1924, right? So the bank doesn't know you also want to travel, right? It doesn't know you want to eat out, save up for retirement, or just, have some breathing room at the end of the month. It just knows that you can make the payment on paper math-wise. So here's what I would do differently. Your mortgage advisor should dig deeper beyond just the, hey, this is what you're pre-approved for. They should actually really dial in what your comfortable payment is. And what I like to do is like, what does 36 months look like for you in expenses, life? Like what's your ideal, I call it ideal state, right? Because obviously you're gonna have the most context. So trying to, paint a clear picture, what will that mortgage look like? And that mortgage person should reverse engineer from there. So like things to avoid, right? So it's like having that person should be like the time traveler for you. Also, I can't tell you how many times, right? I've heard this before. Let's say hypothetically they're pre-approved for 500,000, right? And that's their comfortable range. And the agent's like, looks at me like I'm crazy. It's like, wait, they're both doctors. They qualify for like $1.5 million. So let's show them a $1.5 million home. It's like, whoa, let's take a big step back and come back to earth. So they told me that their payment, they wanted to be around this amount. So that equates to 500,000 purchase price. Sure, you might be able to stretch it to like 600,000 if it's the right house, perfect house, perfect neighborhood at the right time, but we have to respect their budget. What I just explained to you is a difference between having someone in your corner or having someone just trying to close you, right? So here's the affix too. So do not shop at your max. I want you to shop at your comfortable. And the person on your team, remember from mistake number 2 is having a good who, is the realtor or lender should be able to help you clarify what comfortable looks like for you. And this is also a good, telltale sign of who's in your corner. If the mortgage person only sends you like the maximum pre-approval, it doesn't actually show you like numbers of like, hey, based on, your comfortable budget, looks like this is going to be your comfortable purchase price range that you should set your search for when you're looking for houses. That should tell you everything you should know about who's got your back or not. All right, so this leads us to mistake number 5, which is waiving your contingencies to win the offer. So this is the big one. This one's tricky because I'm not going to tell you to never do it, because sometimes you have to do it to win the house. But don't get me wrong, if you do it incorrectly, it could be one of the most expensive mistakes on the list. So let's take a step back, right? So what are contingencies? A contingency is like an escape hatch, or I would call it the real estate parachutes, right? It's a condition on your offer that lets you, walk away, keep your deposit if something goes wrong. The inspection contingency lets you walk if the house is like a wreck, if it's not safe, if there's health hazards, things like that. The appraisal contingency protects you if the home value doesn't appraise for what you're paying for on the contract. The last one is going to be your loan or financing contingency. That protects you if your loan doesn't go through or falls out of escrow because of, maybe the person didn't calculate your income correctly. Maybe there's some undisclosed debt. Maybe there was a job change that wasn't calculated correctly, right? So again, these are going to be your safety net, the contingencies that protect you while you're doing your due diligence. And here's what happens in a hot market. You find a house, there are like 7 offers, and your agent says, hey, winning the offer means that we have to waive all our contingencies. So to compete, we're going to strip all of your safety nets, like all of it, right? And it feels like a bold, decisive, let's go get it type of move. Like you're showing the sellers that you wanted more, right? But the downside is, again, if you waive your inspection and you buy a house and there's a problem, sight unseen of like the cast iron pipes that are end of life, things like that. If you waive your appraisal and it comes in lower, that could be a huge issue. Or if your loan, falls through, huge issue, right? Now, also, when you add it together with mistake number 4, when you buy at your max with no cushion, no money left over, and you stack all of these together, right? You're really maxed out and there's nothing to like really reverse or go back on, right? This is why I say it in every video. The mistakes don't hurt you one at a time. They kind of like, gang up on you and they can stack on top of each other. So I'm not saying never waive contingencies, because sometimes you have to do 1 or maybe even 2 of them to win the offer, but I would waive the contingencies in a smart way. And the other thing is you also have to make sure your team can pull it off, okay? So think about it like this. If you're going to run an impossible mission, you don't want to send the B team. You want to send the A team, Delta Force, right? The pros who have done it 100 times and know exactly what the risks are and the real to make sure that you get the job done. Like you also don't want to have, the off-brand Avengers here to help you with your biggest purchase of your life. You want the actual Avengers team to get the job done for you, right? Because it's a high stakes decision. So that's why having a strong team will help you not only make your life easier, but it also help you win the offer when it matters most. So that way you're selective with your contingency removals, not all of them, but you're selective with some of them, right? All right, like always, I like to make the best videos in the mortgage education space. If you liked it, please give me a like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Please join the family. And then comment down below if you've made these mistakes before, maybe you can help somebody else out, or if you want to let me know what other videos to make. Also, YouTube is recommending this video right over here. Give it a click. It's super smart. It knows what you want to watch. I'll catch you on the next one.